Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Happy Practice Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Sierra, and today I am joined by a practice owner, an optometrist, a speaker, a professor. Dr. Thanh Mai, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's just exciting to be here, and it's just been an honor to be in your company.
All the way from Orange County, California, Irvine.
That's right. Hailing from Southern California.
Born and raised?
Born and raised all my life. Grew up in Ventura County, went to UCLA, then SCCO in Fullerton, and then I became an optometrist and stayed in Orange County.
What made you want to become an optometrist?
Yeah, just like most optometrists, I've always had poor vision growing up, and I had progressive myopia that kept getting worse. So I would always see the optometrist, and the interaction was always friendly and nice, and I always saw it better afterwards. So I just thought, oh, this seems like a cool job. I shadowed a few after I graduated from undergrad, and then I love the patient interaction. I love this. The staff were all happy at this one practice that I was at. Luckily, I shadowed the right one, and I said, okay, that's it. Because when other people work at jobs, I feel like they kind of drag their feet. But this optometry office that I shadowed, everyone was happy, from the patients to the staff. And I said, that's what I want to do. I want to be in private practice. And from day one, that was the mission. And today, it's mission accomplished. And just kind of living the dream now.
And you specialize in myopia, right?
Specialize in myopia management, vision therapy, special contact lenses. We love it. We love the fact that we help give patients a better life, afterwards. So it's not just today, but we look after them in their whole life, in their trajectory for that. So we love just getting ahead of it.
So myopia, that's nearsightedness, right?
Yes.
Because I can see up close super detail, but when I look at you, I can't. Could you have fixed me if I went to you as a kid?
So you can actually prevent.
You can still fix me.
Yeah, I'll fix you. You can actually stop myopia from happening in the first place. And if it does happen, and if it does happen, you can actually prevent it from getting worse. So let's say your prescription, I don't know what it is, what are you, -2, 3? You're actually not too high, but yeah, the good news is that myopia is an epidemic. There are way more kids that are nearsighted today because they're addicted to screens and not spending enough time outside, and it drives it more so than genetics. And so that's one of the big focuses of our office.
You're doing great stuff out there. I really appreciate that, and I love just in interacting with you and all the conversations we've had, not on camera and not on the podcast, but just how much you care for your patients.
Yep.
And I think you've got to love your patients, but really just like going above and beyond to create that outstanding patient experience has been so refreshing to see. We're going to talk about mergers and acquisitions today, and I just want to make sure, before it gets lost in the sauce, that we talk about, your beginnings in the practice. You cold started the practice.
That's right.
Walk us through that process and kind of the culture that you infused from the beginning, and how that has scaled now to the multiple locations that you have.
Yeah, good question. So it's one of my favorite books I've ever read is called The E-Myth. And just like you said, no one gets into healthcare at all because they want to help patients. But at the same time, a lot of doctors get burnt out and they get tired and they end up having a hard career or they leave the career altogether. That happens because they haven't mastered the 3 different hats, which is you need to be a great doctor. We also need to be a great leader, also a great manager. And you have to kind of shuffle between the 3 things, right? And so the fact that we open cold, if I were to build the best leader to be an optometrist leader, I would make them open and practice cold versus buying one as their first location. Because when you buy one and you have to build the system from scratch, and unfortunately in the very beginning, you have to be the janitor, you have to be the office manager, you have to be the office therapist to your fellow employees, you have to be the therapist with the patients too sometimes.
Yeah.
And you're also the doctor, you're also the chief marketing officer, you're everything, right? Because you are the end user, the end person doing the work at one point, it gets you a more intimate understanding of what it is to do that position, which ultimately helps you be a better leader or a better manager. And that's what stops most businesses from growing. Most doctors are good docs, but they're great with the patients, but sometimes they're not great with the team, and sometimes great with the structure, right? And that's what unfortunately makes it so it's hard for them to operate without pulling their hair out. And so we've been very thoughtful in terms of how we built the office, how we spend time, and we give time and room to allow for us to work on the business, not just in the business. And so that's been something that we've mastered. Well, not mastered, but something that we've done a decent job with from day one, and something we're trying to master going forward.
And as you're doing that in the early stages, what uh, what considerations do you need to have for for bandwidth, for doing it the right way? And I guess my deeper question there is, what looking back on it, I'm sure everything went perfectly and everything was sunshine and rainbows, but what would you have done differently? What are some things that you learned along the way?
Good question. I thought getting new patients would be the hardest thing.
Mm,
I thought that marketing and getting more patients to, buy what you want them to buy and tell the people that to come to you would be the hardest thing about being a business owner. I knew that being a doctor, I was gonna be decent at that because we were trained well in school, luckily.
right.
But growing the business, I thought that'd be the most challenging thing. Now looking back, the most challenging thing is actually managing and leading a team because you can't do everything yourself. And that by far is the biggest challenge and opportunity that you have as a business owner in optometry or in healthcare in general. And so by investing in good leaders amongst your team, by reading books, attending trainings, constantly working at it, having empathetic conversations with your staff members, having compassion, making sure that you empower them to do their job. You don't want to hire them and then tell them how to do their job, It's better to just empower them to do the job and just try to support them. Those are the type of things that I would have wish I was better at, honestly. But unfortunately, I think the best way to learn it was just to actually have to do it and kind of live through the scrapes and bruises. But that by far was the biggest challenge and the greatest opportunity that we had.
What would you say to somebody who's struggling to delegate and they want to be a better leader?
Yeah, I would say one of my favorite sayings is don't tell me your priorities, show me your calendar.
Hmm.
So, because your calendar is your priorities. If you are not making the room for training your staff because you don't have any weekly meetings, if you don't have the time to work on the business because you're seeing patients 5 days a week, you will never give it the oxygen it needs to grow because you haven't allocated the resource, which is your time and investment, to sometimes build systems, build processes, become a better leader, manage and work with team members, train them appropriately, mentor them. Those things take time. And by structuring your calendar correctly, by saying, you know what, I can't see patients 5 days a week if I'm going to do this right. I'm going to have to, lose a little bit of money on the short end and maybe hire some help. Maybe get another doctor in for a couple of days a week. You'll lose money on the front end because you could be making the money paying yourself as a doctor. At the same time, you'll recoup it back because the business will start to grow and scale without you being there, and that's what you needed to get to the next level.
Well, and what you're talking about is really getting ahead and going to the next level and getting to the next step. I mean, there's so many people that are working all the time.
Yep.
They're burnt out. They're doing all of these things, and there's a lot of motion, but sometimes they feel stuck, right? And sometimes they feel like things aren't necessarily progressing. I mean, you're a consultant too now, amongst all the other many things you're doing. Do you see that pretty regularly?
Regularly. What usually happens is that it's sometimes a strategic issue, not necessarily even a cultural issue. So what I mean by that is this. They've decided to strategically sometimes not hire enough help, right? So when you hire somebody, they're going to eventually pay for themselves, and they're going to be a great investment most of the time.
Yeah.
But initially, for 3, 6, sometimes a year, you might have to eat it a little bit on the, on the financials, honestly, because you're just investing in the back in the business. So that would be my recommendation for most docs. In order to grow and do better, you need to reinvest in business. So sometimes that means hiring more staff members before you, quote unquote, before your CPA tells you need to hire someone. Maybe you hire someone, or the A player that is honestly an A player. Maybe you pay them 25, 50% more than the market says, because an A player is worth honestly 2 or 3 times a B player, and a B player is worth 2 or 3 times a C player. Yeah. And so by just quote unquote overpaying and investing in your people, sending them to training seminars, closing the office for training so you're not seeing more patients and working on the business. These are the type of things that honestly cost a lot of money, but what you need to do is invest in the business for it to grow.
Love that.
Yeah.
And grow you did. You did the one location, the Cold Start. You built that culture, it grew. And now so after building that initial one, you've gone and acquired additional practices as a way to kind of grow your portfolio, and that's something that's an ongoing project that's going to be a continuing priority. How did you get into that? What made you want to start acquiring and growing the group? and what are some things you learned along the way?
Yeah. If you're not growing, you're dying. So even the first practice, we grew from one to 5 doctors. I've got 12 doctors total now, but the first location that I opened cold is 1 to 5, because even that one, we were in one location, then we were running out of space. We doubled the space, bought a building, and then hired more doctors and more staff for the new location. So we were just looking to expand from day one. I think for us, we love taking care of patients. And if you actually do, and you don't just say that, but you actually do, and you actually care about people, because that's what fires us up, then it's almost as if we feel like we have an obligation to keep growing, because we need to help more people. And healthcare in the United States is honestly not great. Sometimes healthcare, we're just in a rush. The patient experience suffers. The doctors are unhappy, the patients are unhappy. So we felt that we've got a good model. We're taking care of patients, we're taking care of staff. We have an obligation to keep helping more people and to expand to that point. And so that was the why. That was the fuel of why we're going to do what we need to do. Also, the fact that I believe that by growing and expanding, it doesn't mean you necessarily have to work harder. It means you have to build and work smarter and have a better team and be more organized. But it doesn't mean you have to be everywhere yourself. And so that's a problem where most doctors, they tend to handicap themselves because they think that bigger is worse and more work. But to me, it's the opposite is true, actually. So it's a mindset shift there. So from that perspective, we were always looking to grow. Grow we did. We've acquired 3 more, and every practice is growing. It's all like the first one we acquired is up, it's almost doubled since we took it over a year and a half ago. And the original owner is still a partner there, and he had a 1-year-old baby, and now he's working half amount of time, but making the same amount of money he did before. And we do that by improving the operations, but also decentralizing authority. So we take away authorities, all the buckets that he was in, and we made sure other people were doing it and chipping in. The other staff members were chipping in. We had to hire other staff members as well. We aided on the P&L the first year as we're hiring more team members to do the job he used to do for free for the business, because sometimes he's the free janitor and the free office manager. But then you invest, and then eventually the people pay off. And so that's what it took to resurrect, to build that business, take it to the next level. And now everyone's super happy.
So if I'm a doctor that's out there, I've got one location,
and
I want to be like you. I want to scale. I want to add 2, 3, 4, 100 practices. I don't know. What considerations do they need to have? Like at the basic level. Obviously, you can get super deep on this kind of stuff, but what are the first things they need to be looking out for?
Yeah. Well, the first step to change is desire. So they should have ideally a 3-year roadmap that they plan. They should have a plan. Like, what's the goal in 3 years? 10 years, you can have a murky 10-year plan. I'm okay with that because it's hard to really plan what 10 years looks like.
Yeah.
But 3 years and definitely 1 year, I'd be very granular about it. And if you need help creating that plan for yourself because you're not sure, you just have a general idea of where you want to go, you can have a coach. Like even the best, like even Tiger Woods, Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, they all had their Phil Jackson, right? They all had a coach, right? And so the first thing you should have is find a mentor, someone that's walked the walk, walked down the road, has done it before. They can help you, give you the blueprint of how to get there. And then from then on, you make the blueprint, and then you just start to reverse engineer and say, okay, what do I need to do this quarter to make that happen one step at a time? And so I'd say that's the first thing you need to do is to create the blueprint, the desire, the goals, the outcomes, map it out, come with a strategic plan, ideally with a coach, or at least use AI to help you.
Yeah.
Because AI is great these days. AI can absolutely help you do some strategic planning. I use it all the time. The models are pretty good now. Where it's almost similar to what my coach would tell me. Sometimes the coach uses it to inform even what he tells me. And so I feel like it's gotten a lot better. The resources are easier than ever to reach.
You talked a lot about right person in the right chair, right? So you go out acquiring practices, personnel is going to be a big part of that, right? Walk me through the team considerations, the cultural considerations as you fuse new people into the group, and what you've learned along that way.
Great question. So usually when you're buying another office, the original owner, so there's a lot of considerations when I'm looking into acquiring an office, for instance. Let's say I'm trying to add more offices to my network, but I don't want to necessarily open cold because I kind of like the quick cash flow of a business that's already having existing patient base, right? So one thing we like to do is we look at the when before acquiring that business, we're looking at a lot of different metrics. We're looking obviously gross revenue. Is it growing year over year? Revenue growth, or is it, are you catching the falling dagger because it's declining? Is it, what's the EBITDA, or what's the net revenue of it? Is that, is that a good healthy margin for you to acquire and be able to pay off the loan if you're, using debt service to buy it, not with cash? We're looking at, does it do anything special? Is there patients that are super loyal because there are certain specialty services that aren't offered elsewhere that makes it so that when I take it over, the patient aren't going to necessarily leave because the original owner is going to be gone? And so we're trying to decrease the key man risk. The key man risk is the original owner was there. They were so deeply embedded into the culture and everything about the business and operations that if they leave, all the air gets sucked out, right? And so that's what we look at when we're looking to acquire other ones. So I kind of create like a little synergy map in terms of like, what things do we do that are similar already that's easy for us to plug in our system and take over from day one? Whether that's taking over the phones, billing services, marketing, management, things that we can just do in our current, leadership team. But when we add another one in, we just have to plug it into the system without having to create the wheel or hire the unicorn office manager, who's good at everything, which is hard to find. And so for us, that's been the way how I look into expansion and getting the next office.
Love that. You and I could talk about this forever. What are the parting words of advice you'd have for anybody who's interested in mergers and acquisitions in this space?
Yeah. I'd say probably the most important thing is getting your org chart correct. And also looking at, of course, cash flow considerations, all that stuff. But I'd say a lot of it is building out the leadership team. As you grow and scale, it needs to evolve and change as you keep growing, right? It can't just be you making all the decisions. And so you need to have a org chart in mind for 1 location, 2 locations, 3 locations, 5 locations, 10 locations, 100 locations. And so you understand the personnel you need to grow and expand to the next level. Otherwise, if you don't, guess what happens? You get the second practice or third or fourth, and it's you doing everything because you plugged yourself everywhere, right? That's not how you do it. You need to find the right people and put them in the right seats. And if you do that, and you build the leadership team and management team, then you will structure and grow methodically, not just chaotically. And that's what it takes.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's been amazing having you on the show. Thanks for educating me. Thanks for educating all of us, and doing everything you're doing in the space for curing myopia and just being a all-around fantastic person. And thank you to everyone who's joined and participated, audio, visually, or otherwise. And until next time, take care.